Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a set that you asked me to talk about. It is the Guido Cantelli box, now on Warner. See, it used to be EMI, now it's Warner. This was actually an icon box at one point, but it got sort of revamped. You know, the icon boxes had strange little titles for all of the people who were being iconified. And his was like the fiery angel of something. It was just ridiculous. Maybe he was a fiery angel of something. Who knows? So anyway, here are all of his Warner recordings in a box. Now, Cantelli was one of the great might-have-beens in the history of music. He died at the age of 36 in a plane crash in Paris. In 1956, actually. He was Toscanini's anointed successor, and Toscanini himself died 2 months later and was in very, very poor health and was never told that Cantelli had died. It's really a very, very sad story. He was teed up to become the successor to Dmitri Mitropoulos at the New York Philharmonic. Perhaps a couple of years later, he was taking the world by storm. He had been appointed music director of La Scala 2 weeks prior to his death. And it was really a tragedy for the world of conducting. He was a marvelous conductor, absolutely first class in the Toscanini mold. That is, swift, incisive, disciplined. In fact, the conductor he probably most resembles was not Toscanini so much as Erich Kleiber. That type of conductor, or Carlos Kleiber, who we have now. And of course, he couldn't take over the New York Philharmonic because of his passing, and Leonard Bernstein got the job. So there are a lot of sort of fascinating circumstances and machinations that resulted from the death of Guido Cantelli. And this set has, we got 10 discs, of which one is a remembering chat type thing with rehearsal excerpts and some other stuff. But 9 of them contain actual music, and they are marvelous. And I'm just going to tell you what's on here and suggest that you get it, because he was a splendid conductor. Most of these recordings are mono. Most of them sound pretty good. Jed Disler at ClassicsToday.com did a very thorough review of this set, and if you are a ClassicsToday.com insider, you can go and read that review and listen to some samples, which will give you a sense of what's going on. Most of these recordings have been remastered. Not all of the best remasterings have been selected for inclusion in this box, but all of it sounds fine. It's not that there's anything that's bad. It's that there are some things that were remastered for other purposes. For example, a bunch of these recordings appeared on Testament in slightly better sound, and not all of those masterings were chosen for inclusion here. But the Testament recordings may be very hard to get, and so it's not going to be a big deal one way or another. This is an important set. So let's just go over what's in it, and then you can make your own decision about what you would like to do. So here we have El Booklet with a nice note, and oh, thank goodness, it has a track listing. You can't count on that anymore, and sometimes the discs or whatever, and they have it and they don't, but this does. So let's just talk about it. Disc number 1, Tchaikovsky Symphony number 5, which is, these wonderful performances. I don't want to keep saying, it's wonderful, it's terrific, it's great, it's fabulous. They're really all very good. If not the best, they're up there. They're of a sufficient quality to give you a sense of how great a conductor he was, and what his potential was. And that's really the point. I don't think we need to get into the details that much more. It's Tchaikovsky's 5th, Rossini, the Overture to the Siege of Corinth, and Casella's Paganiniana. Now it's the La Scala Orchestra for the Tchaikovsky, and Santa Cecilia for the others. Now La Scala was always a good orchestra, always was a good orchestra. Santa Cecilia was always scruffy. And it's an indication of how fine a conductor he was, that he was able to whip them into shape. And also, one of the great tests of a conductor, I think, is Rossini overtures. Because Rossini overtures require a combination of precision and attention to detail and attention to instrumental color and the ability to sustain a long singing line, which are really very, very special. And you find that a lot of the best conductors are really, really good when they do Rossini overtures, even conductors who aren't Italian or anything like that. It's just a purely musical thing. And there are a bunch of Rossini overtures in here. So they make an excellent basis for comparison. So disc number 2, you've got Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet, very exciting. Wagner's Siegfried Idyll, with Dennis Brain on the horn. A lot of these recordings are with the Philharmonia, and so they will feature Mr. Brain for all of you hornists out there. And Mendelssohn's Italian Symphony. He did it twice, one of which he rejected and another which he accepted. I think it's this is the accepted one, 1951 with the Philharmonia. Let me see, is it in here twice? It may be. It may be. Yes, it's in here. Yeah, 51 was the rejected one. 54 was the accepted one. And you get them both. So you can see whether his persnickettiness is borne out by the musical results. And then we've got Tchaikovsky's Pathetique and Rossini's La Cazza Ladra, also with the Philharmonia. And Schumann's Symphony No. 4, really smoking Symphony No. 4. And Brahms' First, with the Philharmonia. These Brahms performances they were very famous in their day for being, splendidly disciplined. And, those who had Toscanini's live Philharmonia Brahms cycle, which was not issued at the time and is available now, can make a very welcome comparison between Cantelli doing the same pieces with the same orchestra. See, this is the kind of thing that record mavens just live for, because you can make all these comparisons and argue endlessly about trivial points of detail and how significant they are. CD 5, so we're already up to number 5. Ravel's Pavane for a Dead Princess. Faya, Dances from the Three-Cornered Hat. Debussy's Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun. Dukas, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. I love all this stuff. And a very, very famous Franck Symphony in D minor, which is in stereo, and which is really one of the great Franck symphonies. It's wonderful. CD 6 is Debussy, La Mer, The Martyrdom of Saint Sebastian, Symphonic Fragments, and the Nocturnes. Do we get all of them? Yes. No, we don't. Just Nuages and Fête. His La Mer was also extremely well known and extremely admired, as was Toscanini's. And no wonder. And there was Ravel, Daphnis and Chloe No. 2, Suite No. 2. CD 7, Schubert, The Unfinished, also in stereo, without the exposition repeat in the first movement, but a beautiful performance nonetheless. The accepted Mendelssohn Italian Symphony, also with the Philharmonia. And then Brahms Symphony No. 3, one of the great Brahms thirds, and this was also in stereo. And Mozart's Musical Joke and Symphony No. 29, all with Philharmonia. And last but not least, Beethoven Symphony No. 7, which was a stereo recording. It's wonderful, Symphony No. 7. I said I wasn't going to keep saying it's all wonderful. I lied. What can I tell you? And the last 3 movements of the Beethoven's Fifth, and recording sessions of the last 3 movements of Beethoven's Fifth. What happened was that there was a construction project outside of Kingsway Hall, and so they stopped and didn't do the first movement, and then the plane crash happened, and so he never finished it, which is just astonishingly sad. It would have been a great Beethoven's Fifth. As it is, we have a great Beethoven's Seventh. So that's the set, and then there's the memories disc and the chat and all that stuff on disc 10. Really a lovely memento of a wonderful conductor. The only other stuff we have of his, for the most part, there's some broadcast things, was a box of NBC Symphony Orchestra broadcast recordings that he made, and also some New York Philharmonic recordings that exist that were broadcast. And those were on Music and Arts, and there was a Testament series dedicated to them, which is no longer available. So you don't make yourself crazy looking for that stuff. If you really like what he did, you can just keep it in mind. And as things pop up, collect them. But in the meantime, this is really a wonderful tribute to a great artist whose death was terribly sad and robbed us of a lot of fine music making. It's evident here. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.